Welcome to No Place Like Home, the radio show, coming to you on WRXB 1590 AM and Pinellas County Connection TV. This program is presented to you as an opportunity to hear information that can help you fulfill the dream of owning your very own home. We also share information about upcoming special events and programs to help you enjoy the good life in Pinellas County, as well as other items of interest. The sponsor of this program is the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County, which offers the First-Time Homebuyer Program, your key to home ownership, helping people in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties make their dreams of home ownership a reality. I'm Carmen Lemberg alongside Jane Merlin, your host for today's show. Good morning, Jane. How are you?
I'm doing well and hope you are too.
I am, thanks.
You know, we've got a really interesting program today. We're going to be talking about a couple of different communities in Pinellas County that are getting a little extra help from the county to do some exciting improvements in those communities. And we've got a couple of great guests who are going to tell us more about that in just a few moments. But I know before we begin, you have an update from our sponsor.
I do. Thanks, Jane. The Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County is offering the First-Time Homebuyers Program, your key to home ownership, helping people in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties make their dreams of home ownership a reality. The First-Time Homebuyers Program is for individuals who have never owned a home, have not owned a home in the past 3 years, or veterans. The Housing Finance Authority offers a low rate on its 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, and if you need a little help with down payment and closing costs, we can help you with that too. To get your key to home ownership, visit our website at www.pinellascounty.org/HFA as in Housing Finance Authority. For more information or comments about the show, you can call us at 727-223-6419 or email us at newhome@pinellashfa.com.
Great program, Carmen, and I know that we've talked in the past about the fact that oftentimes people are able to make the monthly mortgage payment on a new home or maybe they're not necessarily a first-time home buyer. I know you've got a program where you if you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you would qualify, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so we talk about the fact that sometimes people just don't have the down payment that's required, which is one of the main expenses of owning a home.
Well, one of the main upfront expenses, and that's where we come in and we can give people a little help with that, and then we defer that payment, and it's also at 0% interest, so it doesn't have an immediate effect on their payment, and it helps them get into their home and start moving up.
Great opportunity. Thank you so much. And today we've got an interesting topic related to improving neighborhoods in Pinellas County, and we're joined by two representatives with the Pinellas County Planning Department. Renee Vincent is the Division Manager of Community Development and Planning. She's been with Pinellas County for 1 year, and prior to joining the county, she served as the Planning Director for the city of Tarpon Springs, where she was employed for 12 years. She has a Master of Urban and Regional Planning degree from Virginia Tech and is a member of the American Planning Association and the American Institute of Certified Planners. Renee has nearly 20 years in planning and government administration. Frank Bowman is a community planning manager and works in the Planning and Community Development Department as the Community Outreach and Development Manager. Frank has worked for Pinellas County for more than 27 years. He has extensive experience in community development and has served as a neighborhood planner in the High Point and Lellman communities. Frank was raised in the Lellman community and graduated from Dixie Hollins High School. He has a BA from the University of South Florida, or USF, and a double major in anthropology and social psychology, and a master's degree from USF in applied urban anthropology. In his spare time, he plays clarinet and saxophone in several bands, does woodworking, ceramics, and lots of gardening, something that all of us as homeowners enjoy doing, right?
That's true.
Welcome to No Place Like Home, Renee and Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Frank, it's nice to have you back as a guest this time. You've been a co-host of this program for a long time.
Well,
And,
yes, it's nice to be back. When I came in the room today, I almost sat on the wrong side of the table.
Well, you're welcome anytime to sit on this side as well. So, Renee, I'd like to start with you. There has been a lot in the news recently about the county pursuing a community redevelopment area designation for Lellman. If you would give us an overview of what a CRA is.
Sure. Thank you. In a nutshell, a CRA is a special district that is available to cities and counties under Chapter 163, Part 3 of the Florida statutes. It's commonly known as the Community Redevelopment Act of 1969. And essentially, it's a special designation that recognizes an area of a community, a city or a town, that needs some special attention. There may be deteriorating conditions, falling property values, other types of blighting influences. So it's a recognition of an area that needs special resources being brought to the table to address those needs. And there's really 4 elements, if you will, of a CRA. The first thing that you have to do is establish a finding of necessity. So once you've identified your study area, you conduct a finding of necessity, and that is a study of 14 specific criteria that are in the Florida statutes that are commonly recognized to be indicators of deteriorating conditions. And in order to establish a CRA, you must have a positive finding or evidence that at least 2 of those 14 criteria exist in your study area. So the finding of necessity for the Lillman CRA has already been conducted, and we found that there were at least 9 of those conditions present in the Lillman area. So clearly, meeting the needs or meeting the requirements to establish a community redevelopment area. Once your finding of necessity has been completed, then your local governing body, Board of County Commissioners in this case, can go about designating that area as a community redevelopment area. You establish a redevelopment agency, which in this case is the County Board of Commissioners. They do double duty, if you will. And then the next piece is to draft a redevelopment plan. That will be starting sometime in October. And that really it's a 30-year plan for what you're going to do to improve the area and stop that deteriorating condition. And then really the last piece is the implementation. The primary funding source, which we'll talk about a little bit later, I think, is the tax increment financing mechanism. And so that's really the other key piece to the kind of the overall what is a CRA. So did I explain it well enough in a nutshell for you?
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I know that you mentioned the study that was done, mm-hmm. and is that something that you all as planners do? Or do you have somebody else come in and assist with that?
It can be done both ways. In this case, we did it quote quote in-house. So it was our planning staff that did the analysis and surveyed the area and produced that report.
And so, why did the county feel that it was important to start with Lillman for this CRA? And what are the benefits going to be for the residents who actually live in that community?
I'll let Frank talk a little bit about the history of how we've kind of gotten here, and then we'll come back to the benefits.
Okay, good.
Yeah, well, the county has been actively working in Lillman for quite a while. We had some activity through our community development block grant programs in the mid-'80s, and we went there, and we at that time there was just a lot of dirt roads and infrastructure needs that we did meet. Roadways were done, a small park was developed, and things like that. We then left that area for a number of years to serve other communities in the county. And in 2000, the citizens out there had recognized the fact that the area was not thriving, it was declining, and they called upon the Board of County Commissioners to do something. So we started an effort out there in 2000. And again, we identified infrastructure needs, still a lot of roads that were substandard, drainage, open swales on the sides of roads, the absence of sidewalks and good quality drainage facilities at all, deteriorating housing stock, and very few services and absolutely no recreation services for young people in the area. And we began trying to do some things out there, and we're quite successful. In the early 2000s, we were able to develop the Lillman Park. We developed another passive park area at Joe's Creek Greenway Park. And during that time, the county had established county connection centers, which were centers where citizens could come for information about any topic in the county and get directed to assistance and good information. And so that was also placed there at the Lellman Park. And we started to see some improvement. Of course, that was at the same time that the housing market was booming. And so we did see some increases in new construction, improved housing. We saw an increase in home ownership in the area as well, which is a good benchmark for a stabilized neighborhood. And although our county programs were implemented there, we had identified in the capital improvements plan a number of road improvements and things that would be done with the Pinellas County penny money. Well, then we all know that the housing market crashed around 2007, 2008. Revenues for the penny were almost cut in half. And the numbers of folks who lost jobs and left Lellman, they were a lot of the stable homeowners, they disappeared. A lot of the properties became investor-owned. And when we went back there to start working a couple of years ago, we noticed that the conditions were actually worse than they were in 2000. Now, we still had some of our facilities in place. We had Juvenile Welfare Board had funded the Neighborhood Family Center, which provided services, and the county developed a facility for them. And the sheriff's program put in their police athletic league. So we had some foundation upon which to build upon. But this time around, the commissioners were very much aware of the conditions in Lellman and had talked a lot with the local citizens. And the citizen says, is there something more that we can do? And I think it's fairly noteworthy that the community redevelopment area had never been approved in an unincorporated area in the past. So this is sort of a pioneer in that regard. But they had total support from the Board of County Commissioners, and the county administrator asked our department to proceed with this process.
So this is actually the first CRA in Pinellas County, or we should say for the unincorporated, because they are found in cities traditionally, aren't they?
Correct.
Yeah, most of the cities have a CRA. Several of them have multiple CRAs in downtown districts and in other areas like that. And our planning department has always reviewed other cities' CRAs, and the Board of County Commissioners has to approve those as well. But this is the first time that they have advocated creating a CRA in an unincorporated area.
And so did you all work with some of the other municipalities that have established CRAs to kind of get some lessons learned and guidance on how to approach it for the unincorporated areas? We're
really kind of following in the footsteps right now of the city of St. Petersburg with the South Side redevelopment area. It's a very similar dynamic that they're dealing with in that community redevelopment area that we are going to be dealing with in Lellman. In the past, the policies have been fairly, I don't want to say restrictive, but excuse me, there are certain things that the county has allowed the cities to spend those tax increment financing dollars on. And I think with the South Side redevelopment area as well as the Lellman redevelopment area, you're going to see a little bit of a shift probably to some a little more out-of-the-box approaches to how we can use those funds and hopefully move the needle. So we're definitely following in the footsteps of City of St. Petersburg right now, with at least with the specifics of what we think we'll do with the money in Lellman.
And so let's get back then to what are the benefits going to be for Lellman?
Sure. The main benefit, and I think we'll talk a little bit about this more in depth, is the ability to establish a redevelopment trust fund using tax increment financing. And what that really becomes is a dedicated revenue stream for a 30-year time frame and those funds can only be used in the Lellman area. So it gives you some additional sources of revenue that you can use to leverage private dollars as well as matching it with other perhaps public dollars like Penny for Pinellas and things of that nature to really, I use the term move the needle, but to try to make a difference. And I think with respect to the Lellman area, there's a lot of things that have been going on kind of independently with different county departments. and doing improvements in Lilman. I think the redevelopment plan and the CRA is an opportunity to really have a unifying document that will recognize all of these things that are going on and perhaps provide some focus moving forward, and so that we can really concentrate on, affecting change in the area.
That's great. Who's going to really lead this and be in charge of this?
Structurally, you have a community redevelopment agency, which, as I said earlier, in this case, is the Board of County Commissioners. So they're the governing body for the community redevelopment area. We also will be developing an advisory committee that's a Lilman CRA advisory committee. That'll be a 9-member board, and that's will be appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. Those will be hopefully residents, stakeholders, property business owners. So that group will, in coordination with county staff, so myself, some other planners, Frank, will really be providing the staff support as we draft the redevelopment plan. But the committee, the advisory committee itself, is going to be key in getting the right things in that redevelopment plan.
And hearing what the citizens have to say.
Exactly.
So if residents are out there and they want to participate or get involved, what can they do? What should they do? Who should they talk to?
Well, they can always call Frank. Frank's a valuable resource for all things about the CRA and Lilman. The applications are available now online. If you go to the Pinellas County's homepage and go to Boards and Districts, and then click on Current Vacancies, you'll find the application if you're interested in serving on the advisory committee. And that application period is open until...
Yeah. It's already happened, actually.
Oh, yeah. So
but the board is the advisory committee is supposed to be appointed officially what date?
September 10th. So the County Board of Commissioners all the applications that we receive will be reviewed, and then the county board will actually appoint the advisory committee. Then the target date for that is September 10th.
So that's coming up pretty quick.
Correct.
And now we do anticipate, because that's an 11 or 9-member board.
9-member board.
That's an official board that will make formal recommendations to the CRA board. But to function, and the way we've seen this in other communities as well, there are a lot of subcommittees. There are folks who specialize in housing issues, in recreation issues, in infrastructure. The business community, which we really hope to really promote a significant participation on their part to organize businesses and to develop new business opportunities. There's a Joe's Creek Industrial Park that's a major feature in Lilman that is very old. It's probably one of the oldest industrial parks in Pinellas County, and it really could stand to have some significant redevelopment. So we really want to include the business community. So there'll be these other subcommittees and probably at least quarterly meetings, community meetings during the planning process. So citizens will be able to come forward, see what progress is being made, what ideas are being promoted, and have their own input into the process.
That was my next question, was the meetings and getting additional public input. I know that's so key to helping give staff, who's really going to be the hands-on people, better ideas of how to move forward and implement the overall plan.
We anticipate starting the meetings in October, and actually Frank indicated quarterly. I think we'll probably initially will be meeting monthly. We have kind of a self-imposed deadline to have the redevelopment plan completed by May, and so that's going to be a very fast time frame. So I think we'll probably be meeting monthly, and those are public meetings. They'll be noticed to the public, and we do need citizens, interested folks to come out and participate. So it's not just about the advisory committee.
Great.
And as we develop the plan, I think the important thing to note here is that per the rules of a community redevelopment area, your plan has to encompass anything and everything that the community needs.
Yes.
The plan has to be the foundation to document ability to spend these future tax revenues. And so there will be a very comprehensive plan. It'll identify all sorts of different things that the community can need. And of course, over the 30 years, that plan can be modified as we accomplish things and as we identify new needs.
And probably as situations change, because we all know the economy is going to play a big role here. And in particular, I wanted to get into the tax increment that you had mentioned earlier, Renee. Tell us what that is and how it's used and what you anticipate would happen in the Lallman community with those.
Sure. So tax increment financing is unique to cities and counties who are establishing community redevelopment areas, and essentially you establish a base year. So we hope that 2015 will be our base year, and so essentially the ad valorem property tax values are frozen, if you will. So let's say for the Lillman community, and I'm making up numbers now, let's say it's $50 million. The taxes that are generated, the ad valorem tax revenues that are generated from those property values are frozen. That money continues to go to the normal taxing authority. From that point forward, any increase in property values that produces additional tax revenue, the increment, that money is set aside and goes into the redevelopment trust fund, and those funds can only be used for things that are identified, as Frank talked about, in the redevelopment plan. So that there's a very strong link there. You can't just spend it on anything, and the money has to be spent inside the redevelopment area. So that's a brief explanation, of the TIF. What it isn't, just so that people clearly understand, it's not a new tax. So it's not a new tax being established. It's just looking at, as property values increase, it's that incremental increase that's skimmed off, if you will, and goes into the redevelopment trust fund. Another important point: school taxes are not they're not affected by those remain and go to the school boards.
So it's not as though there's this extra tax that the Lallman community is going to pay. It's going to be more of, when we do see the elevation of property values, there's a trust fund that is used that captures those remaining dollars that will then be used to do specific things in the Lallman community.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And as Renee explained, you start with $50 million, and again, that's a made-up number. But in the next year, if the tax base in the community is $55 million, then the taxes collected on that $5 million is what goes into the tax increment financing piece. And it also makes sense. It benefits the community, the increased benefit over time, as we do things in the community and we improve opportunities. I mean, as we go in and improve streets and drainage and sidewalks, we will encourage the private sector to come in and build new housing. We'll encourage the business community to develop new businesses and build new business facilities. Those will add to the tax base, which then will, you have this sort of exponential increase in taxes and resources available for the community.
And you're still going to get the same services that you already receive.
Yes, this money doesn't
Yeah.
go to paying for what we're already doing out there. It's all
above
additional.
and beyond that.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. We've been talking about the fact that the planning department will be working with the citizens and the stakeholders of Lillman to prepare the community redevelopment plan for that community. And I understand that you are also working on a master plan for the greater Ridgecrest area, GRA. What's the county's history on working in that community, and what motivated you to develop a master plan for that area?
Well, Greater Ridgecrest area is comprised of two primary communities. It's the Dansville area and the Ridgecrest area. And the county has had a role in assisting that community for close to 30 years. Our participation started back in the early 90s, even when there was a horrible tornado went through and did a lot of destruction. And the county stepped up and helped with the cleanup and then began participating. The GRA area is historically a lower income and minority community. Matter of fact, it was a minority community before 1900. It was a place in Pinellas County where folks went. It was fairly rural, but a lot of families that are out there now, their grandparents and great-grandparents settled in the area. And so it's a very, very stable, long-term character of a community. Very, very, very much the citizens out there are very involved and participate in what's going on. We've been out there. We established a YMCA facility, and we also did a lot of road work out there, infrastructure, improving streets and drainage and sidewalks and things like that. Another major component of that community is a facility owned by the Pinellas County Housing Authority, Rainbow Village. And that Rainbow Village has also been there about 30 years. And last year, the Housing Authority their board made the decision to redevelop Rainbow Village. And they went out and secured a planning consultant to do a master plan for the Housing Authority's project. And we saw that and we said, this is right in the middle of the community. The county owns, in that process of improving things out there, we have assembled about 60 lots, buildable single-family lots. A lot of work in cleaning up titles and replatting and everything else. And we're looking at, in this current year, issuing a request for proposals to builders and developers to begin building new houses out there. So with the Housing Authority developing a plan for their area, we thought this would be a great time to expand that concept and do it for the entire area.
And work together with
now, the
them.
consultant is looking at tying the Rainbow Village has always sort of been separated from even to include fences and roadways that didn't connect and things like that. We're now looking at a master plan that will integrate those facilities with the rest of the community. The Rainbow Village is going to be over time, and it'll take about 10 years, will increase their density, almost double it, from 200 and some odd units to over 400 units. They're planning two fairly large senior facilities out there, which will be the bulk of the new units. But they're going to be making it much more livable, and connectivity to the community and walkability, adding additional pocket parks and signage, and just making it a much more desirable community. It's time for us to have a plan together as we move forward with developing the new houses and tying this all together. And it's a really great opportunity for the community. And this document will also guide what will happen out there. So if somebody wants to come out and do something that doesn't fit in the plan, we have a basis to say, no, this is, we need you to do these kinds of things.
I've been out in that area, and this is so exciting to see these things that are happening now, and that it's a more concentrated effort among not just the county, but other entities around, actually in both of these areas, to see them concentrating to improve them. I think it's wonderful.
And I think that's an important point because we have a lot of partners working in both communities. The Juvenile Welfare Board is very, very active in both communities. The Sheriff's PAL program is providing the primary recreation opportunities in Lowman. The Suncoast YMCA is doing the same thing out in the greater Ridgecrest area. And it really is a community-wide effort. And none of this stuff works if the citizens don't get involved and help make it work.
And I think it's real important that we let folks know how they can get involved. What number should they call in the planning department if they would like more information or they would like to participate or find out about meetings? What number can we give?
I guess just give them my number. It rings on my desk, so it would be 727-464-8255. And I'll field some of those calls, and I will ask my wonderful staff to help out with that effort. But part of what my section does is the community outreach and organizing the citizens and engaging the citizens in all kinds of activities. So that would be the best number to call.
Well, great. We are almost out of time, but just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us to let us know what's happening in both the Lowman communities and Greater Ridgecrest area, Dansville. And I know that this is just one part of the work that the planning department does, and we hope that you'll come back and let us know about some of the other great programs that you've got going on.
Thank you. Would be happy to.
Yes.
Sounds good. I want to thank our guests today, Renee Vincent and Frank Bowman, both with Pinellas County Planning Department. We appreciate you listening to us on WRXB 1590 AM and Pinellas County Connection TV. We look forward to having you joining us next month. And of course, if you missed any part of this show or would like to view past shows, you can check out the website or YouTube. I'm Jane Merlin.
And I'm Carmen Lindberg.
Thanks for tuning in. Make it a great day.